But then when he retired from the Tonight Show, a whole different Jay. Just like you could have a conversation with him. He wasn't thinking about all the shit he had to do. And
he's so much better at that show because it's so much what he's actually interested in instead of just the job of hosting the Tonight Show.
And the mistake that I made growing up is like, you know, he would do comedy on, you know, on the Tonight Show. Well, we always thought he was funny. We would watch it, but then years later, maybe 10 years ago, I got to hear him do stand up, and I'm like, it's so much more edgy. You know, my wife will only handle so much. Like if you get into like a certain level of crude, she won't go. So I have to go by myself. So he's like right there on the edge of certain.
Jay Leno's on the edge, really?
Oh, dude, I thought so. Really? So Shell had a big launch for a new oil product about 10 years ago when we were there, and he's like a fucking machine gun, dude. Like you get in that 45-minute set, you get at least an hour and a half worth of material. It is just coming. Fucking rapid fire.
That's interesting. I got to go see him live then because I haven't seen him
I think he's
live
dynamite.
in a long time. I don't know like where he's working out or if he just does big shows.
So I don't know.
Because he used to do Comedy Magic Club every Sunday.
I see his stuff pops up, you know, on my, you know, social media feeds like when he's around in the area. So he does shows. I mean, but it would, to your point, reach out to him, or I'll give you his number, and you reach out to him and have him come do the Mothership.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? I mean,
he used to be really respected as like an edgy comic when he first started.
Yeah.
He in the 1970s, like when he would do like I guess it was the early 80s or late 70s, where he'd do Letterman.
I used to watch him on Letterman. Man. He'd wear like a black leather jacket.
Years was that?
This would have been probably mid 80s, 84, 85, and they used to do a little gag called Jay, what's your beef? What's my beef?
Get mad about
kind of a grumpy old man program. But I always thought Jay was pretty good. You know, I love Carson when Carson was on back in the day too. So you just kind of go from one to the next. But I'm like, you know, some of the current stuff. You got Gutfeld, who's I think funny as shit, but the other guys,
it's a hard gig, man.
Yeah,
because there's so many restrictions. Like first of all, you're talking to someone very quickly.
Yeah,
if you're going to talk to them about something complex. Something that's difficult to grasp.
That's why the long-form podcast works, right?
100%.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you're just talking to someone and you're talking to them for 5 minutes and then you go on a commercial, it's like you can only get so into the subject.
Yeah.
And some subjects deserve more attention. They deserve time. And you really can't do it on those shows. And then also you're censored, right? So you can't say certain words. You can't speak your mind. You'll have a producer in your ear telling you what to do. And then on top of that, you have these commercials. You have to wait for the commercial. Then you got to build momentum back up. When you're back, all right, we're back. You know, like, why are we back? Like, what is this? Like, it's the worst way to have conversations. And that's essentially what those things are.
Right.
What those things are is just, it's like short attention span, quick soundbite conversations that are not satisfying.
Right.
That's the problem. Like, to get a satisfying conversation, you need to talk to someone for a long time.
Okay. And
so they're crippled. It's like they're handicapped by the system that they exist in.
Okay.
There's nothing you can do to fix
man,
it.
But it just is. Was it that much different from when Carson and Leno were doing it? I mean,
yes, because
today's a lot worse.
Well, there's podcasts now.
Oh, so
now people
there was nothing else to watch back then.
Now people see it. This is what it is. It's like they see the difference because if the only conversations you see with people having on television are on things like the Tonight Show, then that seems normal.
Yeah.
But as soon as you can have long form, full, uncensored
deep dive,
conversations,
unpack it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when it becomes awkward because then you're like, why are they doing it like this? Like, this is an uncomfortable way to watch people talk. And also, like, someone's sitting there and you're sitting next to them in this weird way and you're facing a crowd.
You've got a live audience.
It's all weird. There's so much weirdness to it.
That's funny.
You know? It's just not a good way to have a good conversation.
Right.
You know, and all it was really was an advertisement for whatever the fuck that person was selling.
Okay.
So if this
their
person
book, their whatever,
a sitcom, a new record,
new movie,
that's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's not, you know. And Jay Leno didn't get a chance to pick the guests. Like he wasn't like up to him. You know.
Well, he did tell me we worked with him on a project a couple of years ago. And we're just sitting in a truck bullshitting. And you know, I kind of asked him. I said, "So, since you don't do the Tonight Show, do you miss any of that at all?" He's like, "No, not really." He's like, I wasn't really big on going to movies, so if somebody's coming on the show, I'd go watch the movie just so I knew what to talk about. Because like I'm really not into celebrities, and I don't go to the movies that much. I do my car thing,
Well, for Jay Leno and for all of those comedians that lived back then, the Tonight Show was the holy grail.
Oh, for sure.
It was.
If you're a young comedian, you get on there. That's
Tonight
that's
Show,
it.
the host of the Letterman Show, the host of like some late night show. That was the holy grail.
Right.
So they all wanted that, and so when you get it and you realize like, is this really what I wanted? But it just was. It was a thing that it seemed like no one could get.
Right.
And back then, if you got it was a big deal.
Sure.
And if you were the host of the Tonight Show, it was a big deal.
Right.
And nowadays, it's like. It's just another show.
Right.
It's just another thing that's on television.
They got to compete with you.
Well, they're not even competing. It's like they're competing with Netflix, really.
Okay.
They're competing with things. But if for conversations, they're competing. Well, Bill Maher has a podcast now.
Right.
There's a lot of great podcasters. If you want just free entertainment in your ears, there's so much. There's so many different true crime shows, and so many different stand-up comedians have podcasts, and so many scientists, and
right.
Fuck, man. I mean, you could just be entertained forever. So breaking into that is hard.
Right.
And when you're on a television show, like you're kind of depending upon people flipping through the channels or people that are accustomed to watching it at 11 p.m. Let's turn on the late night show.
Right.
Huh. It's kind of a trap, though.
That is.
It's a trap.
I had no idea.
They don't grow. It's like the viewership of those things just keeps dwindling.
So where like the young comedians, where do they? So you didn't get your big break by going on Leno or going on Carson or something like that, but like you found the right manager. It's like for a young comedian that's trying to get going. How do they get discovered today?
The YouTube.
Okay.
YouTube, internet, social media. Someone could be funny and have one clip about one subject that resonates with people, and they throw it up on their Instagram, and then it gets reposted and shared.
Yeah.
They put it up on Twitter. It's on YouTube, and then bam, all of a sudden they're famous.
Right.
It happens all the time now.
Wow.
This is a great time for people to get their stuff out there. Like probably the greatest time ever.
So if you got talent, you can't keep it down.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean,
At least people know about it.
I mean, there's definitely some people that get better breaks than other people. That definitely happens.